Hi, this is Moshe Wolowik, and it's our grandson from Santan Valley, Arizona. Together with his parents, Rivki and Mendel, they established the Jewish Center, the Chabad Center in a fast-growing area in Arizona near Phoenix, Santan Valley. And they're here visiting with us with the other kids, Mushka and Mendel and Levi, for a few weeks to spend time with us. I'm very honored to have them, so he'll be joining me for the video. The Santan Valley is a growing area, as we said, and the first thing they did is they established a Jewish center. They just incorporated it as a city, and they already have a Chabad Center even before they were incorporated as a city. Why is it important to build synagogues, Jewish centers, places for people to celebrate and congregate? Well, all these temples and synagogues are reminiscent of the temples in Jerusalem and other temples that we had. We are now in the midst of the 3 weeks of mourning between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av. 17th of Tammuz is when the walls of Jerusalem were breached by Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, and subsequently the temple was destroyed 3 weeks later, and they went to exile. Very interestingly, both temples in Jerusalem were destroyed exactly the same day, 490 years apart. And some other calamities that happened to the Jewish people on the 9th of Av throughout Jewish history, including the expulsion from Spain. So it's a time that we reflect about these temples. We learn more about the temples and see what it takes, what kind of mitzvahs we could do, what good deeds we could do to change the world that we will merit for the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem in a peaceful way. So Maimonides describes the history of the temples, and he says the first tabernacle that was built was a traveling tabernacle in the desert in Sinai. After the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, the Jews were told to build the temple. It was made out of wood and tapestries. Most of it was covered in gold. It had a sanctuary, an outer sanctuary, and a courtyard. It's described in details in the Torah. And they would travel with it, and every time they would stop, they would erect a temple and a tabernacle, and then when they moved on, they would take it apart and pack it up and move to the next place. So that was a traveling tabernacle that existed for the 40 years that they were in the desert. When they came into the land of Israel and they conquered and divided the land, it took about 14 years. In those 14 years, they erected this tabernacle in a place called Gilgal. After they settled the land, they built a tabernacle, a temple in Shiloh. That was made out of stone. It was a magnificent temple, and they brought offerings there, and they gathered there, and it stood for 369 years. And then the prophet Eli, the priest, passed away, and it was destroyed. And they built another one in a place called Nov, near Jerusalem. When Samuel passed away, that temple in Nov was destroyed, and they built another one in a city called Givon. And then King Solomon built the magnificent temple in Jerusalem. Together, the one in Nov and Givon stood for 52 years. The temple in Jerusalem was built, and it stood for 410 years and was destroyed by the Babylonians. They went to exile for 70 years. They came back, and they built another temple by Ezra and Nehemiah, and that lasted for 420 years. And it was destroyed, as I said, in 9th of Av in the 1st century, 1900 years ago. So we have 6 temples that we mentioned: the tabernacle in the desert, the one in Shiloh, the one in Nov, the one in Givon, and 2 in Jerusalem. Why don't we build another one somewhere else? Maybe in Santa Fe we should build a temple. And the reason is because we're not allowed to build a temple for God with those dimensions and bring offerings there, except in Jerusalem as a chosen place. So Jerusalem is a chosen place by God, and once the temple was established in Jerusalem, we can't build a temple to bring offerings except in Jerusalem. And God willing, we're praying and working and doing mitzvot to help God decide that He should send us a temple and be rebuilt in a peaceful way, usher in the coming of Mashiach. May this happen speedily in our days, and please join us for Shabbat and the rest of the week to celebrate, to study, to learn more about the temples and the mission and purpose that we have to build a home for God in this world. Shabbat Shalom. Say bye-bye. Moshe is like, bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye.